We also pulled up what they call it, the Cypherpunk Manifesto, written by Eric Hughes in 1993. And it's great. It's a great read. It's very short, and it's just, hey, this is how much we value privacy. And I'll tell you what's great about it. This was written before the internet as we know it was really a thing. People in 1993, my parents in 1993, were not browsing the web like we are today. Know ahead of time that privacy was going to be a serious issue, and now it is. Now it's stuck, just revealing all of our information to the world and providing private information to private companies. So they had that vision in 1993, and how much of that really succeeded?
Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. It's been a minute, so apologies for the delay for all our fans out there. We're excited to be back, though. It's a new year, and I think it's going to be a good year. I think when a new year comes around, I feel like we kind of proactively assume it's going to be a good year because it's a new year. But I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I feel like that's just kind of the effect of altruism that bleeds into everybody that touches cryptocurrency or any type of emerging tech, because you just want to be positive that there's going to be some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that, but it's kind of...
It's like I made New Year's resolutions to be good, at least for this first month. So crypto better as well, right? I expect that out of everything else I interact with.
Yeah. And that
I'm a natural pessimist. So I try not to be, but yeah, I'm looking ahead to a great bear market.
Yeah. Jeez. I hope. Yeah. Well, I mean, so far sentiments have been fairly bullish, although this week it's been fairly bearish. So, well, more to come. So, interesting enough, we kind of wanted to do a conversation about an article that Vitalek wrote on December 28th. Vitalek always seems to do these roadmaps and kind of like just how would you call them? Like he just kind of like, there's thought behind it, but it does sort of feel like a word vomit a little bit at some points. But I don't know what you would call it. Like they're still really well thought out posts that he puts together on his blog, or what do we call this here?
I think I'd call it a blog.
ISPS. It's a blog.
It's on IPFS,
yeah. Yep, that's it. And it's a good article though. It's about making Ethereum Cypherpunk again. And the title of the article is "Make Ethereum Cypherpunk Again," and we'll post the link to the article in the description of this video for anybody that wants to also take a look and comment your thoughts, because I thought it was well thought out and has some pretty good perspectives on it. So I guess I'll just start with you all. What were your thoughts jumping into this this article? It's not too long, but there's some pretty interesting elements that Vitalek brings up regarding just what happened in 2023, what's continuing to getting built going into 2024. But I don't know. There were a few things I was interested in, but I want to hear from you guys first.
Well, it's kind of interesting about Vitalek, because you mentioned like he's always writing, and like what even is this? I was listening to another podcast appearance where Vitalek was actually on, and they asked him the same question, just as what does he really think of himself as in the space? He's almost something of a crypto philosopher now with all of his writings, which is I don't think people take for granted though that Vitalek has been in the space a long time prior to Ethereum. He was working in the Bitcoin space, and he was a writer. He was a writer for Bitcoin Magazine, which is now obviously one of the largest publications for Bitcoin. So that's always been something that he's felt is important. And you even hear, like, I'll read at the very beginning of this article, he talks about how much he really just loved the discussions in the space in the early days, where people could discuss social, technology, cultural, political issues, and hash these things out in debate. So I think he's able to somewhat reclaim that experience through his writings without being just totally subsumed as like a tech developer now, because I don't think he ever really intended to do that.
I think that's an interesting concept there as a crypto philosopher, because, fortunately for me, I'm not going to say I'm an expert at philosophy, but I did major in it in college. So I've been around the text enough. If Vitalik calls himself a crypto philosopher, then I'm going to say Satoshi is like what we would refer to as like ancient philosophy, like the Socrates or the Aristotles of the space. Vitalik is not an ancient, though. Vitalik reminds me more of like kind of a modern philosopher, if that makes sense, because he's been in the space long enough to talk about what the quote unquote ancients or founders essentially were doing, but he's not like he's regurgitating it and putting his own spin on it, which is what a lot of modern philosophers did with ancient philosophy. So, or maybe I shouldn't say modern, I'd say medieval. I apologize. It would be more of a medieval philosophy. So medieval / modern, that's kind of what he feels like to me in some capacity. I don't know what Matt's thoughts are, but that's sort of how I kind of view Vitalik.
Yeah, if we're in the crypto Middle Ages, like when's the Renaissance? Anyway, so I
think the NFT era.
Oh yeah, the Renaissance. Yeah, all the art, all the beautiful artwork. Yeah, very culturally significant. And now it's over. Brings us to the present day. We're in the crypto present day.
Industrial, and we're in the dark ages, moving towards the industrial revolution.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. All right, wonderful. I like Vitalik's writing. He's very philosophical. He's kind of just a thought leader. Kind of like he's even more philosophical than like Balaji is very surface level, but like they're both thought leaders, if you will, right? They're both, say what they're thinking about the space.
Vitalik is just undeniably smart. Like you can't.
Yes, he's very smart. Like he's very smart,
and he's a visionary. He has a vision. Like he knows where he's trying to take Ethereum, and it's almost like when you're reading these things, you're getting a piece of it. But he's definitely the one controlling the strings, if you will.
Yeah,
he holds the vision.
He is and the financial backers behind Ethereum, because even though he likes to talk about decentralization, his project is not that. So that's why I struggle with sometimes what he says, because I don't necessarily think it's always sincere. I think he's very smart, but I don't necessarily buy the book of goods that he sells in these blog posts.
Okay, so you're a little more of a skeptic. I'm less of a skeptic.
I don't think I'm a skeptic. I think he's honest. I mean, whether or not it's a good thing, right? Like we could argue about whether or not like the stuff he argues for is good, but I think I don't think he's trying to deceive anyone. But I like his writing. I think, besides this piece, one interesting one that I've read that is he's got a post on Bitcoin maximalism. And if anything, I think he's shown me the best arguments for it. Right. I don't know. Like it's better than any arguments I've heard from a Bitcoin maxi. It was published on April 1st. So like everyone's like, oh, is it an April Fool's joke? But like actually it was well written. So anyway, but yeah, to bring it back to the article, I think that what stood out to me the most was just the very beginning when he talks about what Bitcoin was like 10 years ago, and him going to that district in Berlin where everyone accepted Bitcoin, and he went, where else did he go? But he went to these places where there was a community built around it and everybody accepted it and everyone was paying with it. And they were, kind of openly having these discussions about it. And we've never experienced that, right? We came in we're class of 2021. And so it's just funny how far we've gone, right? Like nobody thinks about paying for things in Bitcoin anymore. Right, we're past that. It's not a payment system. It's for my retirement accounts now. The ETFs, right? Like it's funny. It's just how much the culture has changed, right? And even that simple point, right, is I don't know. I that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah.
Was just that beginning and
yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting you to jump right to what he mentioned when the financialization of crypto in 2017 really kind of made the whole industry shift gears. But I've been a Polkadot fan since getting into space. I've kind of followed a little bit of what Gavin Wood does, and I'm not like saying I'm a Polkadot expert or anything like that because I'm not a coder. I literally jumped into Polkadot because it became available on Coinbase, and I made a decent profit. But then as I started learning more, if it wasn't for the financialization of crypto, I would have never have gotten interested in this stuff to begin with. So that's why it's like chicken or the egg, I guess. People were going to get into this, and some people were going to get into it for the profit, and some people were going to get into it for the vision and values that crypto upholds. So when it's practiced at its truest form, SBF. So regardless of that, I think I really like what Gavin has going on because he kind of mentions it in the middle of the first section or the end of the first section of the blog post where Gavin Wood was referring to ways of thinking about Ethereum rather than seeing it as Vitalek initially did as Bitcoin plus smart contracts, but Gavin was thinking about it more broadly as a set of technologies that could form a base layer which could provide a more open internet stack, which is essentially what he's now doing with Polkadot. So that's why it's interesting that all of these guys went their own separate ways. You know, Charles with Cardano and Gavin and Vitalek, they were all there in the beginning, and those are some of the largest base layer projects in the crypto ecosystem that we can speak of today outside of Bitcoin. So he mentioned Gavin a couple of times, which clearly means he's thinking about the bigger picture of what crypto is in terms of it being more of that base layer for everything else to get kind of built up on top of it, like roll-ups and so on and so forth.
So I guess probably a large portion of what we're contributing to the vision of the Ethereum space could actually be attributed to Gavin Wood, at least by Vitalek's admission, which is, I guess, something interesting there. I didn't really dive too much into that. I will say something interesting about Gavin, too, is when you look at all of those developers who were kind of there at Ethereum's nascent days, Gavin Woods was really like, Vitalek was the center. Vitalek was the one with the vision. He was the one who actually had the smarts to build what Ethereum is. And Gavin Wood was, at least this is the way it was portrayed in what I was reading, but was something of Vitalek's like buffer from all of the people that just wanted to get at Vitalek and get at Ethereum, you know, for whatever purposes and whatever reasons you can imagine. Early investors and people kind of wanted to take advantage or to at least hop on that train early. So Gavin Wood was kind of that buffer line with Vitalek. So I think Vitalek really does look up to him as almost something of a father figure, if you will. And even Charles Hodgson, is it, with Cardano?
Something like that. Yep.
Charles Hodges. He was there at the early days, but he was never actually accepted, essentially, by Gavin Wood. So that's why he had to go off and develop his project alone. And I don't know if Gavin Wood has totally left Ethereum. I know he's working on, what is it, the Cosmos? What is that?
So
what's the name of the company that actually produces Polkadot now? It's a
So there's the Polkadot ecosystem. There's like a couple that are really big. There's like Atom, obviously, which is Cosmos, and then
but I think it's just produced. I think it's the Web3 Foundation or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. But their projects are all stemmed from Atom, Polkadot, and Kusama. Those are the three like main chains that make up that ecosystem. Atom is the one that, or Cosmos is the one that everything gets built on, though.
Yeah, I don't want to dive too much. I think it's the Web3 Foundation. I can't forget the name of that foundation, but
we'll figure it out sometime, or somebody in the comments will make fun of us and tell us.
Well, either way, what I really think is great is to hear Vitalek come out with something like this, though, because it's essentially exactly what we've spoken about on this podcast so many different times, which is that Ethereum, crypto, whatever, this whole space, the vision of the space is so much more than just number go up. It's not about, it's great to make money, but that's not what this is about. Like, especially when you're talking to Christians in the space, and to to those of us who really kind of see the ugly side of censorship and these systems that do not really look favorably upon free speech or really anything of the sort of the values that we hold. We can immediately understand why these blockchain systems provide an alternative that could really be something of value, not just to a pocketbook, but really to like a whole lives. And so having Vitalek iterate what he kind of views as the cypherpunk manifesto or vision and apply that to Ethereum is just once again him saying like, let's course correct. And this is not the only time he's done this. He's constantly doing this, saying, yes, this is a space, but let's course correct. This is where we're going. And I think that's so important for the space, because it reminds people, everybody who's working in it, that there is actually something greater here, So as much as I could actually look through this article and maybe question a few things, I'm super grateful that he put this out, because it really does it iterates exactly the vision that I think all of us kind of recognize of what Ethereum really could be. And I think anybody who's reading this takes away that, yeah, let's go and like build these things. Let's build these decentralized stacks, these decentralized layers to what is going to be the future hard drive of the world, So I really hope that people do read it and do take it up,
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think what I find curious reading through it is, there's this initial vision of Ethereum. What was the file one? And then Rumor was the messaging one. Swarm was, or Whisper.
Swarm.
Gosh, I'm getting all these mixed
Whisper
up.
was the messaging one.
Yeah. Ethereum is finance, Swarm is files, and then Whisper was.
Well, no, Ethereum wasn't finance. Ethereum was
Ethereum was contracts.
Contracts, but
no.
Financial contracts.
Ethereum was contracts. That's what he has. I think really what it was Ethereum was It wasn't just, but he made a it wasn't just about the finance side of it, though.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's the contracts, because like he says, he mentions ENS several times, right? And that's not a financial thing. That's but yeah, so it's a
he
contract.
Doesn't say it in this, but really Ethereum is the computing power, because you need file storage, you need computing power, you need, so that's really what Ethereum is.
So what were you saying though regarding the contracts, and then something about Swarm and Whisper too,
Matt?
Yeah, so I was just saying I thought it was interesting. I've never, so Swarm IPFS is now the file storage one, which we've all heard of, but Whisper, like, do you know anyone who uses Whisper? I feel like I've never heard of it. I don't know that I know anyone who uses it. I think some of the apps we use, like I think Telegram already does like end-to-end encryption. It's and so I don't know that I need a more decentralized system. I don't know. I'm curious to dig into it.
Well, he did say that Whisper actually evolved, and I think it was Waku now. Waku, whatever.
Said,
but even that I haven't heard of.
Yeah. So. Then Whisper, now Waku.
I do think there are possibilities that can go beyond Telegram. I think Telegram is really interesting, and I'll have to see exactly the extent of it. But even just for example, like Telegram obviously requires you to link a phone number to it. Now is that integral?
you need a cell phone number for it.
And is that integral to the functioning of Telegram? I don't think so. It's more of a spam.
It's a security. It's a
security,
it's like,
and it's a spam layer.
Security / I mean, it's not like full-fledged KYC, but it's kind of KYC.
Yeah. And I think there's also probably on-chain solutions that are still being talked about now. But I mean, just at the heart of it, like, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to send a note from my wallet address to somebody else's. I think that kind of functionality people are talking about building. So what I was saying was what I think was super interesting about Gavin Wood's kind of vision of the decentralized hard drive is that it's not just Ethereum and everything built on top. It's Ethereum with IPFS, with a decentralized chatting service. So a cohesive, interoperable kind of world of blockchain and other decentralized options. He mentions Bitcoin at the very end, but ultimately, I just don't see how a Bitcoiner could read this and not realize that Ethereum isn't trying to take the place of Bitcoin. Yeah. It's really building a different vision. So, and it's a vision that's needed. He explains exactly how centralized applications and centralized servers can take advantage of people and take advantage of their data and censor them, and how that problem requires a solution. And it's a solution that Bitcoin is frankly not even attempting to build towards.
Yeah. But could we've talked to a lot of people that are, trying to make Bitcoin more interoperable. Couldn't you build towards that? Or would it always have to be like kind of a EVM to Bitcoin for that to ever work?
Or I was going to say, I don't know if you would need, IPFS and Whisper or Waku, like, do they need Ethereum to work? Or are they just bundling these three features together to say, hey, we're doing all of this for a common goal?
They probably don't.
Right? Like, I don't know. I mean, to play devil's advocate, right? Like, I think we could develop enough things on Bitcoin, or even if it's like we had Willem Schro with Spider Chain, right? If he develops an EVM that natively uses Bitcoin, then do we need Ethereum? I mean, do we need the mission of it? Yes, that's what he's trying to replicate. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know that we need that piece.
Well, Vitalek's original vision was what? Bitcoin plus smart contracts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bitcoin would refuse to build smart contracts. So it's not necessarily a matter of could it, because I think it could, but will the community go for it? And if not, then we just have Bitcoin for money and an EVM for the decentralized hard drive. That's just kind of what you're stuck with, I guess. Yeah. Does it have to be that way? Not necessarily, but I also don't see I don't think it's also necessarily a bad thing to be that way. I think
that's that toxic kind of Bitcoin masculinity that we talk about.
Why would I need another coin? I have Bitcoin. Yeah. But no, it is interesting, and I feel like I've been especially plugged in and trying to figure out all the interesting things that are going on in Bitcoin, and like it looks like with BitVM, like it looks like they'll have zero knowledge proof verifiers natively on Bitcoin, right? And so that whatever rollups are the next step after that. And so anyway, it's interesting. Even and now I'm trying to remember, Connor, remember when we were in Miami and we were talking to that one guy, and he was developing some sort of like what was it? It was like credentials, but it was like Bitcoin related, right? Like he was developing something that was identity credential related, but built off of Bitcoin instead of, and it was very convoluted. I was like, I don't think anyone will use this, but he was building it. Sorry if you're listening. I think I'll use it, but it was because he was building, because the Bitcoin philosophy was such like a privacy, like peer-to-peer. I can't let anyone else in on this. Like he was like double encrypting stuff so that like only the person receiving it, if I give them a special code, they can access it. And I don't know, like he was building with way too much like privacy and security in mind, that it's like, hey, I don't know. Have you seen social media? Some people like attention and publicity. Right.
Yeah. And and that's, and I mean, even just looking back at because we also pulled up, we can add this one in the link too, Branden, or in the YouTube description. We also pulled up what they call it, the Cypherpunk Manifesto, written by Eric Hughes in 1993. And it's great. I mean, it's a great read. It's very short, and it's just, hey, this is how much we value privacy. And I'll tell you what's great about it is that it's like this was written in 1993 before the internet as we know it was really a thing. I mean, the first website, I think you looked up, Matt, it was like 1991. Okay, people in 1993, my parents in 1993 were not browsing the web like we are today. It's just, it wasn't imagined that it would look like it is now. So that was super cool. And to know ahead of time, prescient, how prescient it was to write this in 1993, to know ahead of time that privacy was going to be a serious issue. And now it is. Now we're kind of stuck just revealing all of our information to the world and providing private information to private companies to do with as they will, essentially.
Yeah, no question about it. That article is an internet relic for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But how much of that, so they had that vision in 1993, and how much of that really succeeded? Not a whole lot. Obviously, we have all these struggles today. So it's like great that you had the foresight, but why didn't it work out? And I think that could almost be an interesting case study too. Where did it go wrong? Where did we fail? Because essentially, what is the result of all of their efforts? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only thing that really fulfilled their vision, and it's still a work in progress, to be frank.
Well, I don't know enough about the mechanics of like Tor, right? Is like an internet alternative. You heard of Tor, the dark web, whatever they want to call it? Like
it's a wild place.
Maybe you've been there, but it's I don't know. In one sense, are all the people who cared about privacy in 1993 like are they enjoying privacy on Tor? Maybe they are, right? Maybe they hacked their own, they built their own computer running Linux on Tor. They're having great discussions with each other, and it's not built for everyone, right? But it's which is a problem. I was chatting with a guy. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, and he has this phone, the cell phone that runs Linux, right? It's not an Android. It's not an iPhone. Like it runs Linux because he's a very open source software guy. And he's like, I want to build open source software. And so he's got this phone and he, I don't know, like he has to code every app for it. And he's like, okay, I'm doing this so that hopefully in the future, there will be this plethora of things and it'll be a lot easier to use. And somebody could, say, hey, I don't want to trust these people. I'm going to use this open source thing and just download these apps. But I don't know, like I was trying to say with the Bitcoin guy, like is the philosophy too, like, is it, I don't know what I want to say, like self-extinguishing, like is my desire to do everything by myself and super privately such that I'm not going to attract other people to put in that effort and do that as well.
Well, I think it's partially connected to, kind of living in an age of decadence, though. Like it's so easy to do certain things certain ways because people invented things that have just changed the way we operate. So, you look at technology like the iPhone or, I guess probably, to kind of talk about something pretty recent, like what Roku has done, basically taking over the TV game now. These things are getting built because there is a perceived ease in accessing everything that we think we want or need at the touch of our fingers. So I think it has more to do with a disposition and an era where we just live in decadence and we don't have to think about certain things certain ways, because why would anybody want to think that hard unless it's a passion project?
And that's what I'm saying. Is it the age, or is it is it the type of person? Is it a personality thing where like there never will be a global majority who says, I want to build my own open source computer and run my own software because I don't trust anybody.
The mistake, no, the mistake there is that there never will be, obviously. This is a mistake with all these, is that you expect, we're going to somehow educate everybody and they're going to eventually realize how important that's not going to be the reality. you have to just create it that way. If you're building the innovative technology, you as a person have to create it in such a way that it embodies those values. So you actually need the creators to basically enforce their values top down on the world, but in a way that's good, not bad. So that's
Elon
really
Musk. You gotta be Elon Musk, basically.
You gotta be Elon Musk. You need a visionary. And that's what I'm saying. That's what Vitalek is. He's enforcing his values that he pulled from the cypherpunk world top down onto the Ethereum community. It's not this grassroots kind of democratized vision. That's not what this is, But that's not to say that that there's no value, obviously, in independence, of course, and other people building independent technologies together. There's communication happening both ways. But the goal here is to build technology that is so good that everybody uses it, and then the default is just that it is privacy ensuring, that it is decentralized, that it is censorship resistant. So, but that's a hard thing for people to really wrap their heads around. That it's not it's not democratized.
Like the values of like trustlessness. It's like, oh wait, but I do have to trust the people who write the software. Like you have to, I don't know. There's a certain balance where like if you, that's my point is I think some of these people are going so hard with certain values that like they're not going to build something that people want to use. Like they're going to be stuck building. Yeah. And so you're right. I think you need someone with the vision and like a desire to impose their vision on the world, I guess. I don't know. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's what Vitalik's doing. That's what Elon Musk is doing. They're like, actually, it's my world and you're living in it. And we're going to space. We're driving electric cars and your internet's from a satellite.
Donald Trump put Donald Trump in that boat too.
Yeah. Like it and I don't know. We're a Christian podcast. I guess we just like Christian monarchy is good, and we need rulers who have good values that they want to impose on everyone. Like I don't know. Is that the summary here?
Yeah, we need basically it is. Yeah, but we need Christian builders to impose a Christian vision on the crypto space.
Exactly.
That's essentially the message of our podcast.
We need that.
But it is interesting. So in his article, he does list a number of values that are getting built, or that to some level people hold to, that are building in this space, I suppose. So he says open global participation, meaning that participation should be permissionless, decentralization, censorship resistance, auditability, that you can audit the code.
Yep.
Credible neutrality, meaning that I guess the base layer shouldn't be partial to any one group or the other. That building tools, not empires, meaning things should be interoperable. And you should have a cooperative mindset that we're all working together. Now, I looked at these and I'm like, I think actually all these are good, but I think they can really just be boiled down to censorship resistance and auditability, meaning that these things that we're building. All right, why decentralization? Well, decentralization is just a proxy ultimately for censorship resistance. If everything's decentralized, then no one party can censor the other party, right? So if you really look at all of these, to me, it just boils down to, I want software that is not going to allow for anybody to censor the things and the values that I care about. And obviously other people want a system that's not going to censor what they care and value about. So that's kind of how this works. But it really is just censorship resistance. Then the second one, auditability, that's the only other one that I think is its own thing. It's essentially transparency, that anybody can audit the code and assure that there's no foul play or cheating going on. Mm-hmm. So to me, those are the two core values of the crypto space. Everybody should be asking themselves, how is this smart contract that I'm working with, that I'm building, censorship resistant, and how is it transparent? I mean, what do you guys think? Are there other values here?
I think building tools, not empires, is like a good philosophy to have, and I think that works with a cooperative mindset. In that, like, I don't know, like I don't think Elon Musk shares that. Like he wants to build the everything app. Like he wants to rule. He's not like putting a tool out there that says if this is the best one, it'll get used.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I think
and the other aspect of that too, though, is that I think is viewing all these crypto projects, all these smart contracts as like one piece of a giant puzzle. What is it that Brantley called that? He called that, you know what I'm talking about, Matt? How you're building something that is like a layer that something else is going to port in and build. It's composable. Yeah. That was the word.
Yeah.
So, and that is something that's kind of unique to the crypto space in a sense that all of these tools are functions of a whole. And you're not just building the Facebook where everybody's siloed into one thing, but essentially when you have all these composable tools, then you can kind of pick which building blocks you want. And if one becomes compromised or one kind of turns sour, it doesn't ruin the whole structure. You can just port in a new building block. Yeah. So, and that's something that's unique about the crypto space.
Yeah. And like, he points out later on, right, you have a centralized exchange that could completely collapse. Or if you do a decentralized exchange and you like use stable coins, like the only trust is I'm relying on people backing those stable coins, right? Like you're separating too many pieces. I will say it works like that within a blockchain. There's no, Bitcoin. Ethereum can't natively know what Bitcoin's doing and vice versa. So right. Yes, it does work for a single platform, which we are talking about, right, with Vitalek. He's trying to make Ethereum Cypherpunk again. And so yes, if I build a smart contract, any other smart contract can call it any other, that one can also call other ones. But yeah.
If I could maybe poke one question or one possible critique of his article here, I don't think he sufficiently really dived into the privacy question, and he did kind of talk around it a little bit. So he mentioned Tornado Cash, but then he was basically saying, like, in the wake of Tornado Cash, we're building these other tools, and what he's referencing is privacy pools, which is basically a fork of Tornado Cash that was proposed by Amin, who, if you're not familiar with him, he's kind of the founder of Moloch DAO, one of our favorite projects in the crypto space, right? But the problem here is that I really don't think Vitalek sufficiently defended Tornado Cash, and I think a lot of people didn't, because it was, hey, let's not poison the well, let's not sink the ship with if one thing's going south. But the problem is that by suggesting what kind of their solutions, it's a KYC workaround. So they propose these things called privacy pools, which is to say that it's Tornado Cash, but you can actually choose to separate yourself from somebody else's input. So if I know a wallet belongs to North Korea and they enter a note into Tornado Cash, I can say I don't want to be a part of that privacy set, so I separate myself. Now the problem is that then you say, okay, where's the pressure getting applied? Is that a personal decision that I'm separating myself, or was somebody applying pressure to me so that I'm separating myself from the outside actor, who in this case most would agree that I don't want to be associated with North Korea or whatever. But who's to say it could be anything else? And so now you've just allowed a system that is open to pressure and to corruption and to blackmailing and whatever you want to call it that way. And I think that kind of opens a whole can of worms. Essentially, if we're really saying let's make Ethereum Cypherpunk again, and what is Cypherpunk? Privacy. Well, what are we really doing for privacy? I don't think we're really solving that problem.
No. Do we? Not really.
So I will, again, play devil's advocate. Why not? If I have a system that cannot censor me, like I don't know, like privacy is nice to have, but like, is it necessary?
Can I tell you an example of something here? So sure. A couple of, like just yesterday, it was weird. I was talking with somebody from another company, and I needed to get them in touch with somebody from, the company that I work for. And I asked, for their email. And, most companies' emails, it's usually like a combination of somebody's name, like, first initial, last name, or whatever combination. They gave me 5 numbers and then at theircompany.com. I think companies today are doing a better job of defending the privacy of their employees than their employees do walking outside of the office and going on their social media app or whatever. So it was really weird. Like, they didn't answer by their name or anything. And this is a very, like, everybody would know who this company is if I said it. I'm not going to do it. But it was eerie. And it feels like that's where the general direction is going, because companies are concerned about, employees and protecting their employees so that they don't get held liable for what their employees do when they're potentially not in the office or something like that. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting, and since we're talking about privacy, it just kind of was on my brain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or is it like a prison thing where you don't have a name anymore? You're just a number. I don't know. That is an interesting. I do wonder if it is weird. Privacy.
I'll tell you what company it was after we stop recording, sure. But I'm not going to do it on the podcast.
Sign up for our Patreon to get the after hours.
No. Mm-hmm. We do not have a Patreon. We do not do an after hours show. Although that wouldn't be the worst idea.
Well, and to answer your question then, Matt, about is privacy necessary? I think ultimately it comes down to, is it necessary for me? Like, if privacy for me, but not for you,
yep,
is eventually going to come back to bite you. If somebody else is, suggesting of ostracizing you instead of North Korea, right?
Connor, are you trying to tell us that you have a bunker in New Zealand right now?
Yeah. But see, that's ultimately the problem with this space. I mean, anybody, and he even mentions it in the article, but just that, everybody wants to deal with this problem of exercising bad actors, but how do you do that in a way that is truly censorship resistant and decentralized and privacy supportive? And so one more critique too is, he says this, and I actually think most of what he said was good. But here he says, centralized actors should not have the power to interfere with any given user's or application's ability to operate. He says this in regards to censorship resistance. And then he says, concerns around bad actors should be addressed at higher levels of the stack. And then leaves it off on that. What does that mean? Concerns around bad actors should be addressed at higher levels of the stack. Like, what higher levels? Where are we talking about here?
Are we talking about like Coinbase kicking people off for trying to put XRP back in their Coinbase wallet, or like what? Like,
it's not answered. But actually, to your point, I thought that was interesting. That was my thought. I was like, oh, maybe he's saying higher levels of the stack, meaning not on chain. Bad actors should be dealt with in legal systems. I actually agree with that. I think decentralized privacy resistance, all those things should be built into the code of Ethereum, built into the code of the future hard drive of the world. And then, you have a problem with North Korea's participation. Well, we have to deal with that in the real world.
Yeah.
So that's my solution to the bad actor problem.
Yeah. I think into maybe, I don't know, maybe we can talk other topics if this derails us too much. But I was listening. I think he mentioned it when I listened to Vivek Ramaswamy on what's that podcast called? I don't even know. They're a popular one, the Ethereum one.
I don't know. Bankless?
Bankless, yeah. Bankless. He was on Bankless, and he was talking about his crypto policy, and I think he brought it up that, like, Well,
he
like
dropped out,
if you
so it's
commit
not
fraud,
happening.
if you commit fraud, you commit fraud. Like, we'll deal with you, right? Like it's not. I don't know. So like let people make the code so people can do what they want, and if they do something
I
illegal,
saw his bus driving through Iowa last week. Sidebar. So yeah, I
do
was driving through
wonder
Iowa.
if I talk a little bit of news. Trump had come out and said he was anti-CBDC, and I saw the announcement because I also saw Vivek quote tweeting it. Essentially, it really, the way it was phrased, it seemed like he convinced Trump to be. He's like, no, you got to take this stance. And so I don't know. I'm really curious to see. We all saw that video where they're hugging and whispering something to each other, right? I don't know. That's we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll get his platform. And Trump's an NFT guy anyway, too. So,
Yeah, no, right. Trump's made a decent amount off of those Solana NFTs. So a nice little boost of income to help pay those legal fees. I get it.
But
you can tell how jaded I am by the political system.
So anyway, interesting race. I'm curious to see, especially with, again, I thought it was impressive when Vivek said he was whatever, he put out his crypto platform, and then just to obviously hear people who are anti CBDC. A number of states are like putting it in their constitutions that they're protecting the ownership of Bitcoin or anti-CBDC. Anyway, I don't know. Just interested to see.
Vivek says a lot of good things, but I think he's kind of a grifter. I don't trust him, but like I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not endorsing him. I'm saying I'm impressed that a presidential candidate.
You can't. He's already dropped out of the race, Matt. So there's nothing to endorse anymore.
Candidate had a crypto platform, and we like keep seeing both like anti-CBDC things and like pro crypto things just popping up.
I will say on the anti-CBDC thing, I think it's like an easy stance to take. It doesn't really cost you anything.
I need tell me when I see action, then I'll start believing things. Like DeSantis actually had put action behind that. All these other guys, it's hearsay until I see like pen to paper or like actual legislation being signed that this is like something they're going to take seriously. It's all just words.
Well, even with DeSantis, I mean, it's just like, okay, there will be no CBDC. It's like, I know. Okay, what does that mean though? Like,
it's not perfect, but at least he put something into writing.
Have we seen any proposed CBDCs? What scope of limiting of, if we build any sort of improvement to the digital dollar, is that a CBDC? I mean, it's like, what are we even talking about? I feel like it's kind of just one of those, and I even said this before, but the problem is the U.S. financial system now, not a future CBDC. The problem is right now.
It's right now.
So let's try to correct the problems that we have right now and not, take it as a win that we prevented some hypothetical problem in the future,
True. Yep. No, I agree with you, Connor. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is now, not hypotheticals.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, it's good. Sure. We oppose CBDCs, and we like to have Vitalek. It's not Vitalek. Vivek, who I have had problems sometimes confusing his name with Vitalek in the recent past. But we're talking about Vivek. It's good. I think he's someone who knows how to kind of firm engagement and firm cloud and get people talking about him. He's very well spoken.
Great speaker. Yeah.
Very well spoken. But yeah, he does kind of take popular issues to some extent.
Barack Obama of the Republican Party.
Okay. Still, however, I was going to say, I think it's good that he's around Trump right now and is encouraging some kind of pro Bitcoin and pro crypto maybe thought there, because this is, let's be honest, this is just an issue that young people care about, and it's very difficult for old boomers to really wrap their heads around, digital money. So it's hard if Trump is on his own to ever probably fully accept Bitcoin.
Yeah, it'll be tough.
All right. With that, let's keep making crypto cypherpunk. get your privacy, encrypt every message you send to someone, and
just buy a VPN.
It's not your coins.
Everybody buy a VPN. Put a VPN on all of your devices. Change your location whenever you're doing anything. Just, yeah.
If you're out for a walk, make a turn when you're not supposed to, Don't let Google know where you're going either. Right.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us on the Crypto Conversion Podcast. We have some links if you want to read the articles we discussed about in the YouTube description. Please do leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about this space, what you think about privacy and the future development of these technologies. And if you have some topics that you're curious about or questions you have or maybe things you want us to discuss in a future podcast, leave us a comment and ask us those questions and give us those suggestions there. Otherwise, we hope you will stay tuned. Keep your eyes and ears peeled on future releases here on YouTube and on Spotify. And we're going to be coming to you all year. You guys have a great New Year.
Peace.